Welcome to You and Me Ranch, everybody. It is a beautiful day. We're looking at mid-90s today. We probably got somewhere between 80 and 100% humidity today. So here's our area that I mowed recently, and I limed this. It's going to be a while before we see much results from that lime, but I've been wanting to do it for a long time. This area gets a lot of what's called pepper vine. So that's this stuff right here, and it's one thing that the sheep don't really eat. They eat a lot of different stuff that, you know, horses and cattle and things won't eat. Most of this stuff they do, which is one of the really cool things about sheep. How are you? All right, there we got Chico, and we got Ricky, and we got Rudy. Oh yeah? Are you a good boy? Good boy. Yeah, he's a good boy. Okay. So they've already, I gotta grab that section of fence here in a minute, and I'm gonna bring that over here. Okay guys, y'all ready to move? I know you are. I had somebody asking in our last video what it is that we're grazing out here, and they were trying to figure out what they wanted to plant. And for us, we actually haven't really put any effort into planting anything. We haven't spent a bunch of money on seed, or we haven't tilled anything up or cultivated, none of that stuff. So this is just the seed bank that we had here already is what's growing out here. One of the main benefits out here is the shade of the trees. We got a lot of Johnson grass, especially over there. Tons of Johnson grass. And they'll eat that when it's younger. Now I already chopped all that down over there. So all that Johnson grass up there, I've already chopped that down a while back because it was taller than me. And when it gets that tall, the sheep aren't really interested in it. Sheep don't like being in a place where they can't see too, so with all these lambs, it makes their life kind of difficult. They get a little bit confused as to where you're trying to get them to move. They get hung up in their old paddock sometimes. And so when all the sheep are moving, you'll have a couple that get a little confused and they want to stay behind. They're getting a little bit better at it as they get bigger, but if you have long grass, really long grass, they get a little confused. So it's best to keep it down a little bit, but I think probably the rams will go in that section. And then we have this big circle of small trees and brush, and I think all the ewes and lambs will go over there. We'll put them all the way around that. There's a lot of forage in that. They'll go in there and climb all through that section of trees and brush and have lots of fun. So we have the Cub Cadet GX50 XT2 Enduro Series lawnmower tractor, and it's been pretty good so far. I did have to replace the throttle cable on it. But otherwise it's been great. And we haven't had this gorilla cart for very long, but man, it sure came in handy. This thing was awesome. It has really large tires on it, so If you notice, our ground is not very smooth out here. It's got really clumpy grass and dirt clods all over the place, so it definitely doesn't make for a real smooth ride. But with something that has these big tires on it, it gets over it pretty easy. But this Gorilla Cart's been awesome. Most people have seen these before. You get them at Tractor Supply and Home Depot and Lowe's and all that kind of stuff. But it's a dump cart, so you just lift that up. And then you got a place to put your bungees if you need to. It just connects with a pin. And then you can just take that off, and then you can put the pin in place on the handle too and just pull it by hand if you want to. But it's been great so far. It's definitely made life easier when we are grazing far away from the house. You know, hauling water and hauling fence and stuff, especially if you're not moving just one space over. It gets pretty tough. It'll build some shoulders and stuff, but man, when it's 100 degrees outside and 100% humidity, you start to wish you had something to make it easier. In the wintertime, I don't mind. I might not even really use this in the wintertime because, you know, it's just good exercise and you're not burning fuel and stuff like that. But at least with this, it's not really like a tractor. I'm not driving something real heavy and compacting all the soil out there. I mean, this thing isn't really compacting any soil. Maybe if you made a path and just drove up and down the same path every day, but for the most part, this is pretty low impact, and it's been a really good addition. Get some mowing done, and man, that cart has been really helpful during the summer. So I'm going to load up this fence here. This is the last one that was in their old area. I'm going to load this up, put it in the back of the cart, and take it over to them, because as you see, they're a little more than one space over. We kind of skipped over most of this so that we could get to the shade trees over there. Check that out. Okay, we got their new paddock set up. And they're already going to work here. We're gonna have lots of fun in here. How you doing, Betty? Yep, she's getting lots of this stuff. So in here we got a lot of different stuff. We still got some legumes growing in this area. Most of it's at this point is Japanese clover, and there's some poison ivy. We got a bunch of different trees in here. You can see that this used to be a driveway. You can see the gravel not too far under there. So the fence is really difficult to set up in here. Unfortunately, it is tough to find a spot that you can actually push your stakes of your fence post down solidly. You push them down too hard and you just bend them, so you really gotta feel around and find a good spot. But it's worth it to get them this kind of forage. Lots of trees over here, but once we get out past that point there, there's really not any out in the field. So we'll probably find the next section of tree line that we can utilize for shade that I can actually get back into a little bit, and we'll just run this tree line. Luckily we got enough distance around the perimeter that's a pretty long rotation to make it all the way around. And that back corner back there, we've never even, way back on that far tree line, we've never even had them back there, so we'll have to see how that goes. But we're going to utilize our tree lines when it's really hot, and then by the time it gets to fall, or maybe even late fall, fall's usually pretty warm still here. So by the time we get to where it starts to cool down a little bit, we can start running more of the center of the field where there's no trees, and they'll still have a lot of forage left. So hopefully that turns out to be a good plan. We had a heat index yesterday that I saw get up to 118. I saw the actual temperature got up to about 100 degrees. So to get up today and see dew all over the grass is a good sign. Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing? So this spot here is a really good example. They've already been through this area. And just look at how much forage they left, which is great because, you know, the lower they take this grass down in summer, the harder it is for it to come back. One of the main things that we're trying to do is to make sure and keep the soil covered. So we've already been through here. We're going to be setting up a new paddock this morning. I'm doing it first thing in the morning so that I can beat the heat. It's going to be another really hot day. You try doing this in the afternoon, it just becomes miserable. I'm sure everybody's dealt with that when it's so hot. You're so hot and sweaty trying to accomplish something that even a simple task becomes challenging. So we just got moved from this beautiful spot here. I just moved right next door over here. We got some more beautiful shade. Plenty of forage in this spot. Of course, they're out in the short stuff going for the new growth. It's funny how animals' minds work. They want that new growth first, so they'll go out there and eat that stuff, and then they'll come back into here. Just an awesome spot, luscious, very good grass in here, very good forage. A lot of different types of grass in here. I mean, just in this one spot, you can see several different species. Now I got some rams and some adult ewes over here to move. They're going to come up, follow behind the other ewes and the lambs, and they're going to take this spot, which is perfectly fine to do right now. It's summertime, we got growth going on, and they're only in this spot for one day. There's so much forage left that we don't really have to worry about the other 4 sheep taking it down too far. This is working out perfect, and it just cuts down on the labor time. So we're trying to run a lean operation here. We don't want to be wasteful with our time. We don't want to be wasteful with our money. We don't want to be wasteful with any of our resources. So you got to think outside the box, guys. No matter what you're doing, it's always a good thing to stop and ask yourself, why are you doing it? Is it worth it? Is there a better way? And you certainly can't solve every problem by throwing money at it. A lot of times that's the last thing that you should do.